Hey y'all, this is Dr. B, and I just want to share a few things. Because I believe that when we share things about our struggles and the things that we're going through, it empowers other people. I remember reading something this afternoon on Facebook that says, your story does not have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be at a place where everything is all good before you can share it, because people are looking for the imperfection. And I struggle with that, right? I would have to say that I'm a follower of Christ, and I hold that to the highest esteem, because without God, nothing would have been possible in my life. Even when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, even when I'm not serving Him the way that I should, it wouldn't have been possible. Nothing. And I just look at my life sometimes and I feel like there is just so much regret, and that's in my mind, because other people can see the progress and see the work that I have been doing. I'm the only one who sometimes cannot see it, but let me explain and tell you why that is. As an immigrant, because I'm from Jamaica originally. Excuse me, as I'm fixing myself in my bed. When I came here to the States as a young girl growing up, I always, watching TV, you see these white people on TV and all of that. So in my mind, I would love to experience that. Then I saw the Cosby movie comedy on TV, and I was like, wow, black people do all of this, right? Because you don't, it's not a normality when I was growing up in the 70s to see all of that. But nonetheless, that was an inspiration to me. I was like, oh, I would love to go to America, because everybody pitch America like the biggest thing since sliced bread, right? And as an immigrant coming here, my intention, or what I pursued, was to come and to complete my education. And I did exactly that. Before everything went into motion, I used to clean hotels, right? Because it didn't matter what your qualifications were. It didn't matter coming here. You have to start somewhere. So my first job was to clean bathrooms, toilets, hotel rooms. And some people are nasty. I mean, ridiculously nasty. And so every day you go to work, you know what to expect. You go with a mindset, you know what, God, this is what I have to do, because I have my kids or my family to take care of. And for me, it was my 2 kids at the time, because my goal was to always take care and make sure that my kids had the best no matter what. And I was doing this without a father. And you see, this is a thing. We think that the struggles when it comes down to black women are different. No, it's the same across all sector. Black women have to wear the many hats, to sustain their life, that of their children, making sure that they provide the best, while the fathers are there doing what they feel like doing because they can. But we cannot do that, right? And I'm not saying that you haven't had black women who walked away from their children, but that is far and in between. Black women, the struggle with black women are real, excessively real. And so just deciding to do all of that, I fought through all things. And when the hotel work was on pause, I would clean people's houses, and it hurt me, because I felt like a slave doing it. And this is, sometimes there's certain things that we go through in this life. It carries seeds. Everything that we go through in this life. So cancel the certain. It carries seeds, right? And those seeds sometimes grow if we don't nip them in the bud, or dig up the seed and get rid of the very soil. it becomes something that is monstrous, and we don't see it until we're going through something. So for me to be cleaning people's dirty house and doing all of that took a toll on me mentally. It took a toll on me physically too, but it took a toll on me mentally. And one day I remember I said to God, you know what, God, today's the last day I'm going to be cleaning this hotel. And I didn't even give them any notice. I just went in and just told them, listen, today my last day, and I just want to thank you for everything, but I'm not coming back. And I resigned on that day, and I never went back to clean another hotel. But I was struggling. I was struggling. But nonetheless, I just kept pushing. I kept doing what I needed to do, and to make sure that the two mouths that I had to feed was fed. And so it was never, and it's still not easy for a black immigrant woman. And I pushed to, further my education and do what was necessary. But I had all of these things, just these seeds, this seed of I don't deserve to be here, the seed of not good enough, the seed of shame, the seed of pride, the seed of rejection, the seed of everything. And mind you, I'm a doctor now, but those seeds are still there. And I remember in 2016, after I went through my domestic violence situation, I ended up in a transitional housing facility, still trying to be strong for my kids, still trying to be strong for myself. But inside, I was dying on the inside. And during that process, being in the shelter for some time, I was still finishing up my bachelor's. I'm kind of backtracking, so just track with me, right? I was finishing up my bachelor's at the Art Institute at the time. And, I remember they told me, the caseworker there told me that if I don't take Section 8, I cannot stay there. Mind you, I don't know anything about Section 8 because I'm not even from there. So, Google is always the best friend to find out what it is that they're talking about. And I didn't want to take it when I found out what it was, because there's just so much stigma that is attached to it, especially when it comes down to black people and black immigrants. And so I had no choice. I decided to take it because I had to. And this was stemming into 2017. Before that, I was told that I had to get on the welfare system, because even though I was in school full time and I was working at school, it wasn't sufficient enough, and that wasn't considered a salary. It was considered a grant towards education, so I couldn't use that. So I fought them for a year because I just didn't want to take it. And they told me, if you don't take it, you're going to have to leave. I mean, which good mother is going to just get up and leave because of pride, knowing that she has no family, no friends, nothing. She has nothing. So I decided to stay and to make sure that my children were okay. And I took it, and they did most of the paperwork. Again, as I said before, I'm not as familiar with it. And I just had to go downtown. And the good thing is that the office was across from where my school was in downtown Pittsburgh. And so I went and I got it done. So in 2017, when I got it, one of the ladies who were living at the transitional housing facility told me about where I'm currently living. And I decided, you know what, it's time for me to leave this place. I'm not going to stick around because I don't want to be here anymore in this place, because I felt like I was there in the transitional housing facility and I was so broken. I was still hurt. I was still beaten up. I was still this. I was still that. And I got up every single day like an addict, pushing through like nothing was wrong, because I had to, not for me, but for my kids, because I brought them here and I wanted them to have a great experience. But listen, when trauma hits in, and you talk about even trauma coming from your childhood, it becomes more impactful, right? And I'm just sharing this because I know somebody else is going through what I'm going through or have gone through. Somebody just needs to be encouraged. And I left there and I came to where I'm living, but I was still on Section 8. And I kept applying for jobs because I was like, you know what? In 2017, I graduated from the Art Institute, and I kept applying for jobs. That was in December, but I kept applying for jobs. Every time I applied for a job, I got rejected. I could have gotten a job in Subway or one of those places, but I wanted a better job so that I could have taken myself off the welfare system. I didn't get any job, so in 2018 I went back to school to do my master's. And I did my master's, completed my master's in 8 months, and I was like, yes, now I'm going to get a better job. Listen, it didn't happen. I ended up working in Shop and Save bakery, because you know what, you have to do what you needed to do, right? I mean, Section 8 was paying my rent, but I was so depressed, y'all. I was so broken because I just kept getting rejection after rejection after rejection. Nobody would hire me, right? Nobody would give me a job. I mean, a well-paying job that I can say, you know what, Section 8, thank you so much for your service, but I no longer need you, kind of a thing. Nobody would give me a chance. After I finished my master's, I realized that I couldn't get a job, y'all. I couldn't get a job. I cried day and night. But one of the thing is I never allowed my kids to see that pain because it wasn't their burden to carry. And so I would do all of that in private. And remember, I have no support system. And when you don't have any support system and you're going through what you're going through, it's one of the hardest things. I mean, God is there and you can't talk to God, but there's just something different when you have somebody, or God will send somebody in place for you to connect with. Excuse me, sorry. But it was hard. And that's 2017, 2018. I was still on welfare, not because I wanted to, but I just did not have everything that I tried. It just felt like it dropped right at my feet. In 2018, God told me to create a program called Holistic Fashion Therapy. And that stemmed because I planned my suicide, decided to take my life. But God said, you know what, I have another plan for you. And I created the program, but the program didn't come to fruition until 2021 when I got funding first. And let me go back before I go forward, right? 2019, I started my doctorate because I'm saying, all right, I'm getting a doctorate now. My goal is to come off Section 8, provide a better home for my kids, provide better everything. And in doing that program, I was angry on the inside because people didn't understand, and I was ashamed of telling people that I was on Section 8. I dared not to tell anybody about it because I was too ashamed. My kids didn't even know. And I know for some people it's something that is glorified. But for me, it wasn't, because I'm not even in my country. They don't have anything that I know of that was like this, right? And I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful because it helped me. But I wanted to be sustainable for me. I wanted to stand on my 2 feet and be able to do and take care of my kids. But that wasn't happening for me at that time. And every time I would send out an application, you would see an email come in. Oh, we thank you, da 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 da. You know, that generic email. And I would sink deeper and deeper in depression. And so I was depressed for 6 years and I didn't know it. 6 years. And I remember, I would just get up and cry and whatever. And I said, God, why am I crying? Because you don't know about these. I didn't know about, what depression was. And I would get up and cry, y'all. And I know the Holy Spirit was the one that brought it to me, that Amelia, you've been depressed for 6 years. I couldn't believe it, y'all. It still gets to me, even though. It still gets to me, even though. All I wanted to do was to make a better life for myself and for my kids. Take myself out of the system and just be able to stand on my own. But I was so ashamed. I used to beg God every single day, can you take me off welfare? Can you please take me off welfare? I'm glad for the help, but why did you have to help me this way? It bothered me so much. And that was always my prayer. Listen, it was so bad I didn't even tell my kids I was on welfare. I think it was in 2020, my daughter said to me, Mommy, I know you're not working and I know you keep on applying for jobs. But where do you get money from to pay your rent? And I would, I decided not to lie to my daughter because she was old enough. And I told her what the situation is. I didn't want to tell my kids because I didn't want them to look down on me and think I was a nobody or think I wasn't good enough. Even with everything that I was doing, I wanted my kids to be proud of me. So I didn't tell them. My son, who was the youngest, he didn't know. But he figured it out once he was getting the free and reduced lunch. So I didn't tell my kids. I didn't want them to know, right? I didn't want them to feel like they were less than anybody. Or feel like they weren't important, or, I'm on Section 8 and whatever the situation is, and I didn't want them to have that type of feeling, so I didn't tell them. So to fast forward, I went back to school because then I realized now that the chicken has come out of the bag, I'm gonna have to try harder. So I went back to do my doctorate, thinking that everything would, doors would open up and all of that. So I started to apply for more jobs, and the more jobs I applied for is the more I got rejected. And y'all, can I tell you, I went deeper and deeper in depression. And didn't even realize that I was in depression. And it wasn't just that. It was just things over time that was dealt with, right? Because I tried to get therapy, but it has been over 70 years, 6 to 7 years, and I'm still on the list of trying to get therapy. They called me once and told me that their listing was full and they have persons in the back waiting and all of that. And I never heard back from them. That was from 2016. I never got the help. And so I carried all of that burden on my shoulders. And sometimes I wonder how I am alive today. And I firmly believe that God has a plan that is bigger than me. I carried in here every single day, and I know I just have to let it go. But when the rejections just kept coming over and over and over again, I was at 445 resumes. And I remember last year, 2021, I applied for a job. I was talking to somebody and she connected me to somebody, and the interview went tremendously well. And when I went on my third round of interview, I didn't make it. Oh my God. that did something to me right there. When I realized that I was rejected again. And I was sending out resumes like crazy. And before that one, I got rejected from another job. And then I went to another organization. Interview went well, but I was rejected again. So I was dealing with the spirit of rejection over and over and over and over again. You see, back home, I didn't even know what mental illness is. And I know, let me kind of correct that. So we know when people are not in the best of health. We used to call them mad people back home, or have a mental problem, whatever. But when you talk about mental illness, you're looking at it from all facets, not just one thing. Mentally, I was broken. I felt like I couldn't do it. I couldn't make it, but there was just something in me that I continued to just push for my kids. And every day I would say, God, can you just help me get off of Section 8? Can you just provide me with a job? I wrote down everything. I wrote down the job that I'm asking God for, every single thing. But it never happened. And that pushed me deeper in depression. 2022 rolls in. I graduated with my doctorate. Applied for jobs. Nothing. But my program was doing well. And I figured, I said, you know what, God, if nobody's going to hire me, I'm going to hire me, and I'm going to do what I need to do. But I was still on Section 8, and it bothered me. It really bothered me. And I was on there, my intention was to buy a house, and make it my home. And I was going through the Section 8 FHA program, because I did some research and realized as a matter of fact, I didn't do any research. What had happened was someone that were, the inspectors that come and check your house, this black gentleman come to do an inspection, and he and I were talking, and he said to me, do you know that you can use Section 8 to buy a house? And I was like, what? Bet. So he gave me the information, and I went and I reached out to the person and whatever. So I went on there and on that program. But I've always hated the fact that they had to come here and check, what you were doing and if the house was this and whatever. Because my thing was that everybody was going to know that you are on Section 8. And as I told you, I was very prideful about all of that. And I realized that it would have been the same thing when you buy the house through them. They are going to come and do the same thing. And I was like, Lord, please help me come off Section 8. So when I finally got a job in 2022, this year, January, I decided that, you know what, I'm going to save towards my house. So when I filed my taxes, I saved the money. When I started working, I would save like one paycheck or half of that paycheck every single 2 weeks. I'm just racking up. I'm just saving because I'm like, I have a plan. So there was this new person that they hired at the welfare, the Section 8 office, and it was time for me to renew, right? And so I'm in motion right now saying, yes, I'm going to buy my house, whatever the situation is, and I'm saving my money. So, you have to provide them with bank account information. That's also I did. They saw the money in my account, and it was automatically a red flag for them. I'm not hiding anything or whatever the situation is. I just decided that, because I'm going through their program. So, if it falls through one, it falls through the other. So everybody would have that information. Let me tell you this. They started to say that it seems like I have been doing something fraudulent. Mind you, because I'm buying a house, because I wanted to come off of Section 8, because I wanted to do better by myself and by my kids, I started saving my money. And that became a red flag with this new lady, because no black person can have so much amount of money. And can I tell you, it was just $5,000 or something that I had at the time. Was it? I think so, yes. And they called me into a meeting. When I went into the meeting, I saw 6 white women sitting around a table. So I said, why are there so many persons here? I thought this was a meeting between the caseworker and I. I went in the room, and the person who was the manager of the that building or whatever started to come at me a specific way that I didn't like. And she was talking about, I'm giving you the opportunity to use your voice and to tell your side of the story. And when I was telling my side of the story, because they were saying that I didn't report one of the jobs that my daughter had. Mind you, my daughter was in school as well, and the only thing that she was, I don't know if it was Burger King or one of those places, just to make some money for herself, whatever the situation is she was doing. I didn't fully understand what I needed to do. I know if they sent me the paperwork, I need to fill it out. I didn't get any training or anything on it. Later found out that I was supposed to be trained on Section 8. Nobody trained me on that. So I didn't know what the formalities were. I know that if they send me some documents, and at the time they were sending me documents and the welfare office was sending me documents, I didn't know it was 2 different entities. I thought it was one organization. So I used to say to myself, why are they sending me the same documents to fill out, right? Because if you look at it, the questions are so similar, you wouldn't necessarily know. Unless you're from here, you would know the difference. But if you're not, it would take some time to get used to it. And I never got used to it because my mind was always, how can I get off of this thing? Fast forward, call it back to the meeting, and I was there trying to explain myself. So they were showing me documents that I didn't report when I was working. Mind you, majority from 2017, 18, 19 coming all the way up, I was not working, not because I didn't want to, but because I did not have the opportunity. With all the resumes that I sent out, nobody would hire me, and so I kept going back to school, in which they knew that wasn't sufficient. So I pulled some documents that I had from the welfare office, and I said, see here, I was reporting. When one of the ladies looked at the document, she was like, no, this is not us. I said to her, so what do you mean by this is not you? It has the same address on there. She was like, no, this is the welfare office. So I said to her, isn't this the welfare office? She was said, no, this is Section 8, and it's 2 different buildings. It's 2 different companies. The buildings are practically beside each other, just a stone throw away. So I was like, I didn't know that. And she was asking me, didn't you get trained? I said, nobody trained me on this. I was living in a shelter, and I didn't get any information. They told me that if I didn't do it, I would not be able to stay there. So I made a decision to do it. Nonetheless, this one white lady who was the boss, I'll call her Mary Kate, because she had a lot of makeup on her face. She was like, oh, okay, this is fraudulent. You're going to have to pay back money or get locked up. And I'm like, I kind of lost my cool. And I said, why are you telling me all this? You have already accused me of doing something that I didn't do. And if some error was made, then somebody should be helping me to figure out where the error was made. And I said, these are the documents. As you can see, I was reporting to somebody. It might not have been you, but if I was reporting to them, why would I not report to you? It's definitely an error. And one of the ladies asked, so it's kind of odd because I'm seeing this in July and that one is in June. I said, ma'am, go and check the timeline. Check the timeline. Because one of you guys come in June and one come in July. What I'm realizing is if I reported to this person, then I thought that I was reporting to the same people. I didn't know that it was you. I just didn't know. And everything was done out of ignorance because I just didn't know. My mind was not focused on staying on it. My mind was focusing on getting off of it. And just to be slapped with that, y'all, that added to the fact that, Lord, I asked you to take me off of this thing, and look at where we are now. I'm not going to say that things weren't done in error, but can I tell you, I would not falsify, fraudulent, tally, dally, I would not go out of my way to do anything like that, because the aim is to always better myself. And to do that is not bettering yourself, right? And then I had the integrity of my children to protect, because my daughter serves. And if I do anything to jeopardize that for her as an immigrant, that messes up everything for everybody. And I tried to explain that to them. And I said, listen, I went back to school so I can get a better job and get off of this. That is why I was doing the FHA program, so I can put my kids in a better home, so I don't have to depend on you guys. Why would I do that? I said, every black person is not dishonest. I said, I didn't know. So now I'm here, and I say, you know what, God, you're going to have to help me with this, because I didn't intentionally do anything that would have brought me here. I've always wanted to come off of this, and now I'm in this situation. And like I'm thinking, I went back into a place of saying, if these people charge me something, God forbid, because that won't happen, but I'm just saying, then everything that I have tried to work for, every door that God has opened for me, what my kids have worked for, goes down the drain. And I walk with that every single day. I struggle with that every single day. But I put a smile on my face, and I try to help as many people that I can help, because that's healing for me as well. And sometimes I feel like it never stops. The struggle never stops. I just want to encourage somebody tonight. I know this is 32 minutes long, but if you're serving God, serve Him. And if you're not serving Him, start serving Him. There's a scripture that I love, that weeping comes at night, but joy comes in the morning. And sometimes you're doing things and you feel like nothing is going to change. Trust God, because He's going to make a way where there seems to be no way. Just be encouraged, as I'm sitting here encouraging myself through all the situations that I'm going through. God has a plan. You may not understand, but God has a plan. It might not work the way that you want it to, but it will work the way that it needs to work. Part 1. I'll share part 2 at a later date. Have a blessed morning, and be a blessing to somebody else.